Good day and welcome to A Place Called Through. We're broadcasting live from WYTV7 Christian Broadcasters Network. We're a network that shares real stories of real people, real life diverse situations. We're always going through, but we've learned how to get through. Today we have the honor of having as our guest Mrs. Lovett, Ms. Margo Lovett. She is the host of a podcast, Your Conversation, Your Voice. She helps women to be empowered through their voices. And so she's going to share with us about her podcast and how these women are helped. And maybe you yourself, our listeners and our viewers, may take into this and you may be helped as also. Again, we're broadcasting live from WYTV7 Christian Broadcasters Network. We are doing this by charitable donations. Hey, can I count on you to make your donation today? If you'd like to do so to help us carry out our mission of hope, please go to our website at wytv7.org. Again, I'd like to welcome today as my guest, Ms. Margo Lovett. Welcome to A Place Called Through.
Hi, Patricia. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It is definitely a pleasure to have you with us today, Ms. Lovett. Ms. Lovett, we want you to share with us a little bit about your podcast, but really talk to us. What inspired you? What were some of the tests, the trials, and obviously your testimony that brought you to this point, your business, your voice, your conversation? What brought you to this inspiration?
I tell you, it definitely was God. I worked 26 years at a major corporation, and one day, out of the blue, I get this very eerie phone call. I mean, it was the kind that chill you to the bone, and I couldn't shake it. It was very threatening. It was something that I hadn't heard before, that I thought I hadn't heard before. Long story short, it really triggered something that happened to me when I was 19 years old, a violence type of situation. And later on, I went to therapy and I found out that that sound, that tone, you hear it once and then one day you hear it again and it just brings everything back. So long story short, that happened the end of summer. By December, I quit. After 26 years, I quit. There was nothing done to the gentleman. I didn't want to keep looking over my shoulder, fearful that he was going to come into the office, so on and so forth. But I had been podcasting. My sister and I live here in Southern California, and we went to a school in Hollywood and we learned how to podcast. And that had been my hobby for a couple of years. So after that incident took place, I took a year off and, just really got my health back. And then the Lord brought it back to me. But you love podcasting. It's been sitting on, that mic has been dark and nothing been happening for 2 years now. I think it's about time for you to get back to it. So here I am, a woman at 61. I'll tell my story. 61 years old. Podcasting had only been a hobby. I was spinning music for, artists that were selling CDs out of their car, the unsigned artists, people that I just wanted to really help. Here, I knew in my heart and in my spirit, I couldn't go back to that. So I said, Lord, what am I going to talk about? It's been 2 years. Where am I at? And I couldn't find anybody that was talking about what I was going through. I wanted to build a business out of a hobby. I definitely need to reinvent myself. And what does all of this look like at age 61? It was like, holy cow, Lord, what are we doing here, So I went to Prince George's County in Maryland, and I hired the best coach that I could find, the best strategist I could find, someone who was a podcaster, an author, an entrepreneur. I came back home, I hired him, and at the end of 2017, he had me in a place where I had my voice. I knew that I was supposed to position myself so that other women coming out of corporate would understand what it's like to build out a business, move from a hobby into a business. How does it feel to write a book about you? Eyes are on you. You're telling your truth. Holy cow, once again. But podcasting, entrepreneurship, and how to become an author. I teach people how to reinvent and fall into those places so that the Lord can use them. He needs our voices and our eyes and our input, which is really him, in so many different places. So if he can get you past that fear of, as Libby said, It's not about you, but you go into this mindset. It's about giving to somebody else. I'm gifted with big curiosity, so I give good interviews, and I own that. I'm gifted with much curiosity, so that yeah, I could write my book and bring in other people so that their story could be told. And yes, I approach people so that they can come on Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation, and let's together collectively teach men and women, how do you become an author? How do you become an entrepreneur? How do you become a podcaster,
Let's
especially
go back a
as a
little bit.
boomer?
Interrupt you and go back. I want to go back to, because we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves here. I want to talk about a little bit more because you mentioned how you heard a voice. So you had to actually identify with this voice that you kept hearing that's saying, okay, you have to do this. So rather than it now being just a dream, this became a actually reality for you to let your voice be heard. So women, that are maybe going through the same situations, they're hearing voices at a point of uncertainty as well. And they may not even understand what these voices that they're hearing is, or sometimes we just don't understand what the reality is or what we're supposed to be doing or how we're called to do certain things. How then would you say to that woman, how would you encourage that person or inspire that person to know this voice and to identify what it is that they're supposed to be doing or that they can do?
First of all, I would look at, that's a good question also, Patricia. I would look at my skill set. Am I being called to do something that I already pretty much know to do? I mean, are you a Bible scholar? Maybe you're called to the ministry. Are you a Bible scholar? Maybe you're called to become a writer. What is your story? What do you think that it is, what you're centered on? What do you think is supposed to come out of that? And my best advice is get quiet and ask the Lord. Get quiet. I dare you to ask him. I dare you to go to bed and have pen and paper by the side of your bed and earnestly expect that one of these nights, one of these mornings, I'm going to know exactly what I'm supposed to do. Somebody will call you. You'll just have that uncanny gnawing at you where you can't rest. And the Lord has a way of, Holy Spirit has a way of narrowing it down. So it's not like you're just fishing in this one big pond and I hope I can find out what I'm supposed to do. No, no, no. God knows exactly what he put in you, what he's invested in you, what he wants you to do. So just get quiet, don't push it, and listen. Know that something's up. There's something that's required of you, and let God have his way. Let him have his way.
But to the woman that says to you, I'm embarrassed, I don't like how I sound, or my English is broken. Why me? I can't do this. I'm so ashamed to tell my story. I don't want nobody to know. How then would you say to her, and maybe she may not even be a believer, so how then would you have this woman to reinvent herself to find who she is? Because one, we're dealing with identifying self here, because if you don't know yourself, you're not going to, the reality and the dreams are just not going to happen. It always starts within yourself. So how then, in encouraging in a podcast, would you say to her, yes, your business, your conversation, and your voice?
You know what? That takes us back to podcasting from the inside out. That's exactly what I learned to do, because we all come to the table with hurts, pains, imposter syndrome, fear. We fear about the investment. We fear about what it's going to cost us personally. We come with all kinds of fears, but I'm telling you, when you lean into, and you may have to slow walk into it, but when you lean into what you think that you're supposed to do, or you even want to do, lean into it. Lean into it. Maybe you don't want to tell your truth right away, because in all honesty, I didn't. It was a year later in an interview where I just actually broke it down to the world, what really happened to me that day. So if you're supposed to be a pastor and you're not ready to tell your truth, surround yourself, build your show around your passion, and invite others to come on and make a safe space for them where they will feel comfortable telling their truth, their how-to information, their inspiration, and you're just going to build from that. Don't lean on just your guest. In the meantime, you should always be attached to a mentor, a mastermind, because those folks are always going to build you up so that you're constantly doing that inside work so that you're true to your audience. You're true to have that passageway so that you can tell your truth. Does that make sense, Patricia? It sounds easy, but it's not.
It's not as easy as said. It's easier to say it than to do it for the most part. Mm-hmm. And I know that you had mentioned earlier about, you having a coach. And then so I guess from my perspective, what I look at is that woman that says, again, who, me? No, I'm not doing this. That lacks that self-esteem and that confidence, and we could use, for an example, someone that's been in a very abusive relationship. Their self-esteem has been beaten down to that point that they don't believe in themselves anymore. So the likelihood is, no, I'm not going to go get a coach. I'm not going to share. And then the financial ability to even go get a coach. So where do they start there to reinvent themselves then?
But Patricia, it all begins with that inside work. And you shouldn't start anything if you have those deep intrepidations of low self-esteem. You've got to work on that first and foremost, because if you're going to write your book, unless you're going to do it, and you can skirt around it. But what I found, eventually you have to address those things that come to the forefront in your life. If they keep coming up to the surface and they keep stifling what you're able to do, stifling your voice, you're going to have to go with a therapist. And there's no harm with that. Get with a therapist, and a lot of people do it pro bono. And a lot of out here in Southern California, there's a waiting list, but I understand that you can get professional help. There are online masterminds that you can join. But first and foremost, if your confidence is really, really impaired, I would get with a therapist or a life coach. I would not jump head on and try to write a book and try to become a podcaster unless I'm a plumber and I'm just going to go ahead and do a mini series, or I'm just throwing that out there. And I'm talking about craft. I want to take that deep dive thing. The deep dive, all in podcasting, writing your book, that comes after you've done that inside work. And and I'm just speaking from what I know. You can't be transparent. You can't make this marvelous place of transparency and security for your guests unless you are transparent. You are cool with who you are. I don't come on shows acting like I know everything, and as my mama say, popping my lips and got all my cootie cups. I'm Margo Lovett. Came up the rough side of the mountain and felt like I got beat around my latter days in corporate, but only to find out that no, I wasn't. What happened was supposed to happen. And it was up to me to get the help so that I could find my voice, so I could get my confidence, and I could move forward. I had to lean on the Lord, the doors that He opened up for me, so that I could go out and do what I'm supposed to do. So you're never going to be a one-man band. It's never going to be a one-shot process, because reinventing yourself is a process. I feel myself getting real passionate about it, because I don't want people to think that it's easy. It's a commitment, but it's the best thing that ever could have happened to me. Oh my goodness, the best thing.
Well, Miss Lovett, I tell you, you're so such an inspiration. We're going to go ahead and take a commercial break, but right after the commercial break, we're going to come back and talk to you a little bit more about some of those successes and this passion that you have. It's your voice, your conversation, your business, reinventing yourself. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Mr. Happy Living here. I love good things made by good people. That's why I love Zona Plus, the world's first software-controlled handheld device that improves cardiovascular health. You're going to love it too. I use mine almost every day to keep my blood pressure right where it should be. What surprised me though is this little device has been adding muscle to my biceps too. I walk around all day feeling pumped. Check them out at Zona.com. Use coupon code HAPPY for $50 off. Plus, for every order placed during the month of October, I'll donate another $50 to WYTV7.
Back to a place called Through, broadcasting live from WYTV7, Christian Broadcasters Network. Joining us again in our conversation today is Miss Margo Lovett. She is the creator and the host of Your Business, Your Conversation, and Your Voice, Reinventing Yourself. Miss Margo, again, we thank you for sharing your wonderful stories today about reinventing, because you do have to be within yourself to be reinvented. But as you stated previously, it is also your relationship with the Lord that's most important. Hearing his voice, knowing his voice, and letting him be your guide. In reinventing yourself, there is hope, there is destiny, there is love. There's so much about you that you can rediscover about yourself. Talk to us, Ms. Lovett, in the second half of where we're going right now, about the successes that you have seen in these women who have been a part of your show, in your life, or that you may have counseled with. Talk to us about a little bit of the successes that they state that they have already.
All right, that I am so glad for this opportunity to spotlight on what's going on with so many different women. The very first thing that comes to my mind is that I have had women come on and feel so very free about and tell their story about stealing money from a major corporation and thinking that the major corporation was not going to not press charges against them. So one of my guests went to court and didn't tell her family about what was going on at all. Next thing she knows, they are hauling her off. Charges are brought to her, and the rest is history. Lost her family, her just everything was torn apart. It takes a lot of guts to go ahead and come on and tell that story and give me permission to put it in my book. But that's the kind of thing that's happened. And later she tells me about the liberty that comes and the opportunity that was opened up for after she did that to help other women. A lot of times I'll have women who come to me because they think that they want a podcast, but they just, they're not sure about their voice. They're not sure about their message. And I have one woman who started a podcast, and, podcasting takes work. It really, really takes some work, but it is so much fun. So she started, had all this equipment, and got pod fade, moved away from it, and now says, I want to get back into it because I want to get into marriage and counseling and couples and that type of thing. So I got her wheels back on the road, and last time I looked, she was on podcast number, I think she's on podcast number 10. So moved past the dreaded number 8. A lot of people fall off at number 8. I think she's made it to 10. So I'm giving people, if Margo did it, I can too, type of thing. And CAN, commitment, action, do it now. That's what I tell people. Because you know what? I think, Patricia, this time last year, a lot of people were moving right along, getting ready to go into 2020, had plans, were doing the vision boards and yada, 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 the business plans and everything. Do you know, a lot of those people, I would wager to say, are not with us this year. COVID has come through and taken so many people. So I tell people, if it's in your spirit to do it, throw that bread on the water, test it out, hire a coach. People who are very expensive, you'll be surprised. You think that they're very expensive and they really aren't. Everybody's willing to go ahead and give you a conference call, something just to put that spark in you. Reach out to people. And I think I'm veering away from your question, but so many people pulling for you. in podcasting and to write your books and how to write your book and to write a book, my God, it doesn't take 6 months or that type of thing. I know of people that have been on the show. They can, if you put the pedal to the metal, 6 weeks, you can have your book. And really and truly, I wrote mine in about 6 weeks because my strategist says, you don't have all day to be trying to do this. And I was nervous. I was scared. I thought, oh my God. He said, people know the show. They don't know you. So that's what I always tell people. Get that book out there and do it in 6 weeks. Just commit to it and do it. And people will get to know you, and you will end up on podcasts, and it will, that being on that podcast will make your business bigger than day, and things will just mount up, and it is exciting. Oh, I'm getting in my pose now. It is exciting to use podcasting as a marketing tool because you reach people that you never would have spoken with. Mm-hmm. And you never know, Patricia, who's watching you.
And that is so true. You never know who's watching, who sees what. I've published my book, Willpower, The Call to Rise Above. Unfortunately, it took me longer than 6 weeks to write it. It is a true life story, and it does so relate to this place called Through. So it took me a little bit longer. And, you know, in writing it, you learn how to express yourself freely, and you learn more about yourself because there were some things that I wrote about that I was like, you know, yeah, even though you're writing about yourself, really? I was like, okay. But writing is a good way to express some of those thoughts that otherwise may not come out. We're winding up now shortly in about 10 more minutes, but I wanted to go into you briefly because you mentioned about COVID-19. And, you know, podcasting to some may be new, and to others it may be like a lifetime thing that people have been doing. So, and, you know, everybody's affected by this COVID-19 one way or another. It is just universal at this point. So to the listeners and to our viewers, what are your final words of inspiration to those that are facing COVID and the need that they need to share this conversation, let their voices be heard?
Well, at first I thought, what a tragedy. And it is, to me, it is a tragedy, but it's the Lord's doing because nothing comes into this world without the Lord's say so. So my best advice is for those of you who have lost family members, yes, people are grieving with you, but there comes a place where we don't know about our tomorrows. And I don't care if you're from age 4 up to 400. The Lord has something for you to do. And what COVID has definitely taught all of us is that we don't have time to be overly afraid. We have to beseech the Lord and find out what we're supposed to do. We all have something to give to this world. And I don't care if it's just a smile or going on Facebook and saying, good morning, everybody. You know, it doesn't have to be just super duper big. And there's something for everybody. Whatever that is, you have to do it. You have to find it. And I love the name of this show because we all are going through. One way or another, we are going through. We're passing through this time on earth. We are passing through this age, this year. We're passing through. What's it going to look like on the other end of it? That's, you know, what's it going to look like? What are people going to say about you? What are people going to say about you tomorrow? So I want people to take heart. Don't let age stop you. Don't let finances stop you. God is able. If he puts it in your heart to do something, trust and know he has the money for you somewhere, okay? He has the ability for you somewhere. He has the tutor there for you somewhere. So don't lean on any fears. Don't lean on any scarcity mentality. Don't let anything stop you because our God is able. And when he wants something done, he knows how to get it done. You just surrender, walk in faith, and go ahead, make yourself available. That's hey, I know it because I live it. Girl, that's another show. Don't get me started.
And that's absolutely true because the scripture tells us that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And so if we believe, we shall receive. Then he also comes back and tells you, I have not given you the spirit of fear. So therefore, if you're believing and you're trusting in the Lord and leaning not to your understanding, but in all your ways, directing it to him, He shall direct your path. And the word of God also teaches us, Lord, order my footsteps. Order our steps in the word of God so that we can walk in righteousness and in the path that he should have us to go. All doing it all in a place called through.
Yes.
Your final words for us today, Miss Lovett. Words of inspiration, reaching out to our listeners and our viewers, and also tell us how they can find you and any upcoming events that you have.
I want everybody to understand that I stand ready. If you want to become a podcaster, I mean, my cousin doesn't even know what a podcast is, and she admitted that. So if you don't know what a podcast is, you don't know what your message is, but you're even remotely curious, you think maybe you're called to do a podcast, and everybody doesn't have to do one every day or once a week. You can just do a mini series. Get in contact with me, Margo Lovett, MARGO. LOV as in Victor, ETT.com. Takes you right to my website. Let's schedule a conversation because I stand ready to help. I didn't have access to something like this when I came out of corporate. I just knew that after a year, I knew that I had to get started. I knew that I wanted to do this. So let God use you, all right? And if you want to get to know me better on October the 10th, go over to my website, margolovett.com. I'm going to have something posted where I'm part of Black Writers on Tour. And I'll be talking about my book. I'm on a panel discussion about podcasting. And then I have a virtual booth where people can come by. And we're just going to talk about all things podcasting. So that's Saturday, October the 10th, starts at 10 a.m. That's Pacific Standard Time. And then if you're not doing anything tomorrow, which is Wednesday, the 30th, I'm hosting virtually on Facebook and on Zoom a panel discussion on us boomers over from 40 to 66 on up. Hey, we are up on podcasting. We advertise with it. We use it with our business. We eat, sleep, and breathe podcasting. Do not count us out when it comes to podcasting. So I'm on Facebook. Go to Facebook or go to Zoom. And I'll be there at 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And that's tomorrow, Wednesday, the 30th. We are celebrating International Podcast Day. So that was an opportunity that just was dropped into my lap yesterday. So,
well, that's just awesome. We want our listeners and to viewers to remember Miss Margo Lovett. Go to her website for more information. Again, it has been my pleasure to have you today as my guest on A Place Called Through, Miss Lovett. We look forward, hopefully, to you coming back with us later on and share some more of those success stories and tell others how they too can become author, entrepreneurs, and podcasters. Again, it has been my pleasure to my listeners and my viewers to have you all so tuning in today to A Place Called Through on WYTV7 Christian Broadcasters Network. I am Patricia Wade Goings. I am the host of this show. I am also the author of Willpower, The Call to Rise Above. Stay tuned for upcoming shows. We're going to be talking about breast cancer awareness coming up in October and mental health. To find us, and if you want to be our guest, you may do so by reaching out to me, the host of A Place Called Through, Patricia Wade Goings, and that is an area code of 843-608-9744, or just send me an email at pgoingswp@gmail.com. You can also follow me on Facebook, A Place Called Through, at Willpower, The Call to Rise Above, or you can reach me at WYTV7.org. Remember, we're counting on you for our mission of hope. Make your donation today. We sure appreciate you. God bless you, and to God be all the glory.